G'day, it's Corey Litzenberg coming at you again today for CGL Strategic Business and Tax Advisors online at CGLTax.ca, on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, CGL Tax, Snapchat. Basically, if it's on social media, we're probably on there somewhere. The reason I'm coming at you today is something a little different. So this tax season, just thought we'd give you a little heads up. If you're getting your tax returns electronically filed, there is a new form or new design of the old form called which was the T183. So the form kind of looks like this. I put a nice big red X against something that you're going to see in a minute here. So identification, declaration, the usual stuff. The reason I'm putting that big red X there is because I do not want my clients filling this out. And I'm going to go through it and tell you why. So the first one says, it's Part C is the part of this form. It says it's optional signups for the new Canada Revenue Agency's CRA services. So the first one says, want to go paperless? Give CRA your email address and your CRA mail will be delivered electronically in My Account. Now, for those of you who are already using My Account through the Canada Revenue Agency, that's good on you if you're comfortable enough doing that. The risks with that is that if you sign up for this or provide your email address for this and you haven't registered for My Account, you will no longer receive a notice of assessment. So what happens is that the traditional mailed out form no longer will be mailed. It'll only be electronically available. It will not be emailed to you. What you would get is actually an email saying, hey, we sent you something, go log on to My Account and get it. So if you give them that email address, they will start electronically sending your notices of assessment and reassessment. So when they do their adjustments or send you any type of changes, you may not be aware that you actually owe them money if you don't check your account. The other one says, do you want instant CRA assessment results and your notice of assessment faster? Tick this box. Sounds like I would check that box, right? However, the fine print underneath that says, I understand that by ticking the box above, I am allowing the CRA to electronically provide my assessment results and my notice of assessment and reassessment to the electronic filer named in Part E. So the electronic filer, that's me. Okay, so normally it wouldn't be a bad thing. So, however, that means that you will not get a paper copy. You will not get an electronic copy or a copy of a reassessment notice if something were to happen. And as an accounting firm myself, we do not want the liability of getting this information if they aren't sending it to you. So think of the situation where you might be a new client to us, so you're coming to us for the first time. However, or after this tax season and or next year, whatever, and you marked this box at your previous provider. Well, guess what? They're still getting your notice of reassessment prior to us filing your new tax year. So in the event that something were to happen and you were upset with your previous provider and they've got your notice of reassessment and they decided not to tell you, you now have a problem, and you may not be aware that a notice of reassessment was sent to your old tax preparer. So we do not recommend checking this box until we get a little more insight as to how it will be administered and to what extent that information will still be available to you or sent to you rather than just to the tax preparer. The next one, want to pre-authorize the Canada Revenue Agency to withdraw a specified amount from your bank account? Fill in the info below. Now, they wanted, last year they had brought it on the form, they wanted you, if you wanted to pay them like an electronic transfer, so to speak, where they could pull the money straight out of your bank account. They were asking for your bank account information and all that on the form, which as tax preparers, we kind of piped up and said, hey, we got to hang on to this piece of paper because it has their signatures on it. We have to hang on to this thing Do you really want their banking information kicking around to, that is like a possibility of theft and things like that? It's a piece of paper, right, with your bank account information on it that, um, you know, that we have no use for ourselves, and so it's strictly just for them, and so we have some concerns with that. So they've changed it. They don't require your bank account number, so I'm curious as to how they're going to get the money. But it does say you put your name and the date you signed it, and then it says one-time payment for your individual income tax T1 to be withdrawn on, and then you can put the date. I'm assuming you'd put something like April 30th for the amount of blank. Um, my only thought to that is that they may try and use the if you already have signed up for pre-authorized deposit, they may try to use that same account. So you'd have to make sure you know which account is on their files for that. So if your bank account information has changed in the past year, that could be a problem using this. And again, I think it's just going to cause a little more frustration by putting it on this form. The last one says want to refile, like you e-file. So clearly they've spent their budget on marketing professionals. It says I understand I tick this box above. I authorize the electronic filer named in Part E to refile my amended tax return. Our understanding currently of this extra feature is only to check this box if we are preparing an amendment where we can just electronically file the amendment as opposed to having to key it in manually online or sending it in by mail. So currently the latter two are the only options that we have. It sounds like that they've made some changes to the software and to their abilities at the CRA's end to allow us to electronically resubmit an amended tax return. So that's an improvement. However, it's not required on your first filing. It would be the way we understand the box right now would be to check that box if we were filing an amendment. So for the most part, the rest of it is pretty straightforward. You would still have to sign twice for some reason because they want you to authorize us and then authorize the return. So it seems kind of odd that you would not authorize us, but still we file the return. Anyways, so we still have two spots to sign on the page as before, but we are putting a big giant red X through the form to make sure we do not have people signing that area or filling that part in, because that is definitely something that we're going to see as potentially a problem here, the way it's currently structured, with no other recourse or alternative approach. So the biggest one being obviously if you put your email address on there, that hey, guess what, you're never getting a notice of assessment again in the mail, and if you didn't sign up for my account, you can't even get it online, so it just kind of disappears in the thin air. So we obviously don't want you doing that. So that's just the new form you're going to see when you electronically file your tax returns from an e-filer like ourselves at CGL Strategic Business Tax Advisors in Red Deer. With clients across Canada, we've with watching these things, we are curious as to how there's some other things that are coming down the pipe with as far as signatures requirements and for business authorization. So we're going to see how that's going to work with people in the rural communities, because you're no longer going to be allowed to mail those things in for electronic access. So we'll be seeing how that plays out. Anyways, I digress, and thanks for watching this video. I'm going to try and give you a little more tips as we go through tax season. Thanks.